Brandon Staley paints the rosiest of pictures about the Chargers offseason. Speaking of painting a picture, let's paint the worst case scenario for UCLA basketball, just in case. And no, it is not doomsday for the LA Dodgers. We'll discuss. Good morning. I'm James, and this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is March 28th, 2023, and I get it. Some of you might be asking yourself, James, every time we see you, you're in a jersey for an LA team. What's with this gear? Well, I've been in Portland now for over 2 weeks, nonstop. Let's just say something about this shirt made me miss my wife. But let's talk LA sports. If you like the content that we put out, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And yeah, comment. Maybe you miss your wife too. I don't know. We'll discuss that as well. Now, before we go through the news and notes, look at the scoreboard. Yesterday, credit to the Clippers. 3 of them scored more than 20 points, led by Nicholas Batum's 24. Very balanced scoring. Clippers 124, Chicago 112. Meanwhile, tonight, the Kings are in Calgary. The game starts at 6. LA has earned points in a franchise record 12 games. This is not a team to be trifled with right now. But let's chat about the Chargers. Brandon Staley, he looks like a Pilates instructor, and yet he sounds like a mafioso sometimes. Because yesterday he meets the press, and over he expressed nothing but respect for Austin Ekeler. Nothing but respect. The man used the word respect at least 3 times in an interview Monday about this running back who believes he's underpaid. Now, to get you caught up, in case you don't know about what's going on with the Chargers, Ekeler, he has led the league in touchdowns a couple of times, but he's never rushed for 1,000 yards, right? And on the other hand, he also plays a really mean air guitar whenever he scores, but that's another talent for another time. He gets paid $6 million a year, and he thinks he's grossly underpaid. So the Chargers are not going to give him a hefty pay raise, and he's asked permission to seek a trade, and the Bolts obliged him. Go find a trade partner. So here's the deal. They are trying to set the stage to where Ekeler can come back to the team without having his tail between his legs. Because the market for running backs simply hasn't been strong for a long time. There are very few every down running backs for a reason. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and those guys get paid handsomely, and you can count on them to rush for way more than 1,000 yards during the season. Ekeler hasn't done it yet, and he's pushing 28, 29 years old. The Bolts are trying to pay for a legit franchise player, and that would be their quarterback, Justin Herbert. Ekeler, by contrast, is way overplaying his hand. And we'll talk about how he's overplaying his hand a little bit more in just a moment. By the way, regarding Justin Herbert, which is the bigger story, Staley said talks with Herbert have begun. That is your real story. Not, oh, how much I respect Austin Ekeler. Because you keep in mind, Herbert is part of a quarterback class that includes Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts. All 4 of these elite quarterbacks, well, maybe Tagovailoa is not elite, but he's up there. All 4 of these quarterbacks are due to get a hefty pay raise. They're waiting to see which one sets the market first. That's why Herbert hasn't signed. And as a consequence, that's why Austin Ekeler doesn't know if he's going to get a pay raise at all. If you're curious, ESPN is suggesting that Jalen Hurts, by the way, will be the first domino to fall and thereby set the market. There is an official in Philadelphia who claims that a deal will happen soon. Now, let's assume that the deal for Hurts, and then in a few weeks later, Burrow, and a few weeks around that time, Tagovailoa, let's assume all those dominoes fall. And as a result, Justin Herbert is going to ask for something just extremely astronomical. Where does that leave Austin Ekeler? Because we don't know. If you think about it, the Chargers would be in a prime position to draft his replacement, even as early as the first or second round. So again, Austin Ekeler overplaying his hand with the Chargers. Sources told The Athletic that the Chargers didn't even offer Drew Tranquill, their linebacker, a contract. Staley hinted in the interview that he wanted Eric Kendricks of the Vikings way more than he ever wanted Drew Tranquill. And Tranquill, as a result, went to the Kansas City Chiefs. Quote, "I think this is more about the opportunity to add what we feel like is one of the best linebackers in the NFL," unquote. He likes Kendrick because he is a tackling machine who could go sideline to sideline. Basically thought that Kendricks was a much more complete player than Tranquill. Also on the offensive line, Jeremy Salyer, the sixth round draft pick, who started 15 games as a rookie due to all the injuries on the Chargers offensive line, he apparently has earned a permanent starting gig at left guard next season. So a lot of updates there for the Chargers. I want to correct one thing I said about a week or so ago about UCLA basketball. I suggested that Tiger Campbell and Jaime Jaquez Jr. That they were just flat out leaving, that their eligibility was used up. As it turns out, they both have 1 year of eligibility left. That would be as a result of extensions that the NCAA gave their athletes due to the COVID shortened year. Having said that, nobody thinks Campbell or Jaquez is coming back anyway. So it's typical of the entire Bruins roster for next year, by the way. How many of these guys might actually split? You lose your point guard in Campbell, you lose your scoring forward in Jaquez. You're wondering if Jalen Clark could go pro after getting injured. If he comes back and he's limping around the court next year, does he hurt his draft status? Or, theoretically, could he turn pro, get some sort of an entry-level contract, and basically rehab while he works out in the G League and then tries to get an NBA gig? Possibility. Same for Adem Bona. Matter of fact, you could even argue that Adem Bona, who was only a freshman last year, might be a higher value draft pick in the NBA than Amari Bailey. Amari Bailey was supposed to be the one and done guy, the elite recruit out of high school. And yet, how often did you see Bailey dominate? He basically would defer to the seniors. He would defer to Jaquez Jr. He would defer to Tiger Campbell. Adem Bona gave the Bruins something unique, whereas Bailey deferred. Now, that doesn't mean that Bailey's a terrible player. It does suggest the fact that Bona could leave too. Now you're talking about 4 starters gone, and if Amari Bailey is a one-and-done guy, your entire starting lineup from last year, gone. That is your worst-case scenario for the Bruins. Now, I'm not trying to sit there and say that I predict that it's going to happen. Having said that, that would be a real issue. They do have a great recruiting class coming in, but they are going to be extremely young. Even if Bailey doesn't leave, which again, he probably does, but if Bona doesn't leave, you're still surrounding him with a bunch of freshmen and he's only a sophomore. Now, for the record, players have until April 13th to declare for the NBA draft, and they also have the option to withdraw from the NBA draft on June 1st. Big questions for UCLA basketball in the coming weeks. Yesterday I mentioned about how the scribes in baseball, they love them some groupthink about the Dodgers. They're all saying the same thing, just basically rearranging the words. 2 days ago, it was a writer from MLB.com. Yesterday, CBS Sports wrote the same thesis, just using different words. quote, the least talented Dodgers team in years, but they're also still the Dodgers. Everybody's saying the same thing. There's not an original thought. Even ESPN rearranged those deck chairs on the ship, saying the same thing. And it bothers me. The thing about journalism is we're supposed to tell you guys things that you don't know. They're all saying the same thing. So here's what I want to tell you about the Dodgers that the other scribes are not. At worst, a Dodgers-led team put together by Andrew Friedman won 91 games. That is their worst year with Andrew Friedman. That season, well, the Dodgers went into the season losing their middle infield. They lost Jimmy Rollins. They lost Chase Utley. They lost 2 starting pitchers. So they win 91 games and they go to the National League Championship Series anyway. Does that sound like a horrible year to you? Because it doesn't to me. They went with players like Josh Reddick, Charlie Culbertson, Yasmani Grandal, remember them? And they left too. The next season after winning just 91 games, the Dodgers exploded and began a run of reaching the World Series in 3 or 4 seasons. So what does that tell me and you? Well, for one, the primary thing is the Padres have a 1-year window of opportunity. 1 year. And I'll get to why in just a moment. Multiple baseball number crunchers project the Padres to win 93 games. 93. Now, granted, you got to win those games on the field, but if the Dodgers' worst year with Andrew Friedman is 91 and the Padres are projected to win 93, that's a lot closer than what these scribes are making it out to be. Maybe the Padres are not set up to be world beaters after all. For all of that noise, 2 games difference. The second thing I would tell you is that the Padres have a 1-year title window because next year it's going to be Andrew Friedman's turn to get down. He didn't this last offseason. Just like the 91 win season, he ripped apart his middle infield, ripped apart the starting rotation. Who does Andrew Friedman get for next year? Is it Shohei Ohtani? Maybe he trades for Corbin Burns. Maybe he does both. And if he does both, keep in mind, the Mets, the Phillies, the Atlanta Braves, all of them have 2 elite starters. 2 of them. 2 starters that are better than what the Padres or Dodgers can offer right now. What if they added both Burns and Ohtani to a rotation that includes Julio Urias? That puts them above all of those teams, including the Padres. And now the Dodgers would be off on another screaming run all over again. So yes, San Diego, laugh it up now. You have a 1-year title window. Good luck. Paul George says he doesn't know what the timetable is for his return from his knee sprain. He said he will be attacking rehab like it's practice. So are we talking Kobe Bryant level practice or Allen Iverson practice? Can we have a little clarification? Just wondering. Another free agent for the Rams has skipped town. Safety Taylor Rapp is heading to Buffalo. Now, to be honest, he didn't put up great numbers when he was with the Rams. But unlike everybody else on the Rams, he didn't get hurt. He started all 16 games for them last year. How inexperienced is the Rams defense? Well, Marquise Copeland has re-signed with LA. Why does that matter? He played in only 36% of their defensive snaps. 36%, only 1/3. That literally puts him in the top 5 of all Rams defenders who are currently on the roster. That is how inexperienced the Rams defense will be next year. By the way, how productive was Copeland? Not very. 31 tackles, 1 sack. So this is not a needle mover guy. Incoming USC point guard Isaiah Collier, who is a five-star recruit out of Georgia, said he is pitching the Trojans program to Bronny James, obviously LeBron James's kid. Quote, stay home. That's all I've got to say. Stay home, unquote. He really wants to play next to LeBron James's kid because, quote, he's one of the best all-around players in the country, unquote. Also, maybe for an autograph from his father, but that's just a guess I'm making. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Let me know what you think about the Chargers offseason. Let me know if you could possibly imagine this worst case scenario I just painted for the UCLA basketball program. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.